Peter, thank you so much for joining us. Define disruption. What does it mean to you?
Disruption. Disruption means I have change, okay? And disruption also implies big change.
What are the kind of challenges that you see from a leadership point of view that companies will face?
In the services industry? Well, I think we've got a fundamental set of situations. We have a number of disruptions. We have new business models emerging and we have disruptive technologies emerging. So we have a maturing industry in our traditional industry that we've done so well in, and the growth areas suggest that they seem to need new and different business models. And I think that's the fundamental issue. So I just was describing that as we have both a love story, we have a great opportunity to grow, okay, and that's the digital story, and it suggests that we want to go end to end and take more responsibility for business, and that's really interesting and fascinating and potentially sets up companies well. We have this issue of automation, which could take a lot of employment out of what we're currently doing, and let's call that the horror story. Okay, that also suggests a different business model. So we have a lot of change in front of us.
And how soon do you expect that change to actually sort of roll out?
Well, digital's rolling out right now. Okay, you know, just all day we've been talking about that. We've got hundreds of millions and billions of dollars being spent on it. So that's well underway, and so the love story is well in bloom, right? We're still prosecuting. We really haven't changed the way we deliver that very much, and that's taking more time. So we're not capturing all the value because we haven't changed our business model, but that's going on. The automation story is different. The technology is there, but the realization of the need to implement it and the willingness to implement, that's just emerging. I think that could happen really over the next 2 or 3 years. As we talk with the large enterprises that really make up this industry, our automation or service delivery automation offering, there's not enough time in the day to meet with executives who are wanting to understand what could happen. So there seems to be building pressure to do this. There is, I think the biggest challenge on that is not the delivery part that's done here, it's really the amount of change the clients have to go through to allow that to happen. And that's a bit of a mystery. We're not quite sure how that's going to be painful on them. So I think that's going to be a multi-year process.
So in that context, would you say that technology is driving digital, or is it vice versa?
Technology enables digital. Business is driving digital. Digital is all about the ability to change the experience. So digital is about being simple, flexible, agile, and complete. And that complete is, let me give you an example of complete. When I buy a book on my Apple iPhone, okay, I can understand the book, I can see a review, I can press my button on it, and I own the book. I'm done. It's complete. That's the promise of digital.
That being the environment, is it possible to actually plan for a digital business? How relevant are plans in today's day and age?
So I think every business is looking at how they can make their businesses more digital, right? So there's a digital for growth. That's the interaction. That's the CMO. How I deal with my mass population. There's digital for efficiency, which is how I change my supply chain, how I make my business cheaper. Interestingly, digital for growth is about a half the size of digital for efficiency. So there's much more money being spent in the digital for efficiency issues than there is the digital for growth. Though we all think about the iPhone, the iPad, and you know, how the CMO is changing the world. Actually, only a small percentage of the spend is being spent there. A much bigger percentage is in the supply chain.
So you're saying that a plan is essential?
So a plan is essential, but what I'm saying is every company is planning. Okay?
So far, you know, technology has been driven by, you know, known problems. So
Yes.
technology has provided solutions for known problems.
Yes.
How is technology going to be used to provide solutions to problems that are not known?
What technology does and what these models do is they allow us to imagine bigger. Okay, they allow us to imagine, for example, GE imagined rather than selling jet engines, okay, that's a physical product, why don't I sell thrust? That's a digital product. I mean, and to do that, I need a digital answer. So I've changed from, selling an engine as a service, which is what it does, rather than what it is. Okay, and I think that's a good example of what's happening in our economy. So who could conceive of selling thrust before we understood the digital revolution? Or you take the sort of the famous examples of Uber or Apple, the iStore. I mean, those are all things that we could now imagine differently, okay? And because we can do it.
What then will be the big disruption this year?
This year? From a digital perspective?
Yes.
Well, I think that back to the issue of where the money's being spent, I think our supply chains are going to get so much more efficient, right? So I think the big disruption is global companies are going to digitize their supply chains, and that's going to be driving their profits more than growth. Okay, so typically you can drive it from a top line or a bottom line, and right now most of digital is being, a lot of digital is being spent to increase profits.
And which is the sector that you see showing the greatest?
Well, a lot of sectors. So in that sector, we can look at oil and gas, we can look at cyclical commodities, we can look at utilities. All of those are putting big investments into it. Interestingly, those that are driving for growth would be more like travel, banking, those that the personal experience is what's driving the, and they're driving to gain market share, whereas the oil companies who are under huge stress right now are looking to save money.
From the consumer's point of view, what do you think will change this year?
From the consumer's point of view, well, I think that it's going to be the ongoing evolution. I think we're going to have, it'll be easier to buy things. Okay, so I'll give you an example. A colleague of mine, his wife just bought a dishwasher. It went out. She went online. Okay, she had a greater selection. She could get reviews, no salesperson. Okay, she could order it, make one phone call, and it can get installed. I think that experience is going to just keep going from dishwashers, from books to dishwashers, to cars, and I think that tide is coming in pretty quickly.
Okay, Peter, thank you so much for joining us.
All right, thank you.